book. We are going to read today the, the three trees.
Okay. Wow. Such a beautiful bookmark. Wow. That has been made by Kian. Okay. Now we start the story, The Three Trees. So here you can see the picture of the three trees. One, two, three. Okay. So we start the story. See this picture, another one. Okay. Once there were three trees on the top of a high hill in the woods. One fine morning, they were discussing their hopes and dreams for the future. The first tree, who was the oldest among them, said, "Someday I hope to be a treasure chest. Then I'll be filled with gold, silver, and precious gems." So these are the three trees talking to each other. You see the pictures? So, the second tree, who wanted to travel the world, said, "I wish that someday I become a mighty ship. I will take kings and queens across the waters and sail to all the corners of the world. Everyone will feel safe while sailing in me due to the strength of my hull." At last, the third tree, who was the youngest among them, spoke. "I want to grow to be the tallest tree in the forest. People will see me and think of heaven. They will wonder how close I am to God. I will be the greatest tree of all times, and people will always remember me." A few years passed. One day, a group of woodcutters came to the forest. One of them came and began examining the first tree. See the three trees photo again. Okay. "This tree looks quite strong. I think he will get a good price. I think I will get a good price from a carpenter," he said. Saying this, the woodcutter began chopping it down. The tree was happy and hoped that the carpenter would make a treasure chest out of him. So this is the tree and the woodcutter. See, he has his axe, his stick, he has a big sack with him. A little later, a woodcutter came to the second tree. "This looks like a strong tree too. I should be able to sell it to the shipyard," said the woodcutter after he had examined the tree. The second tree was happy too, because he knew he was on his way of becoming a mighty ship. So the woodcutter cut him too. A little later, when another woodcutter came up to the third tree, the tree was frightened. "Oh God, if this woodcutter cuts me down, then I'll never grow into a tall tree." But alas, the woodcutter did cut him down and his dream remained unfulfilled. So this is the photo of the woodcutter. See, he's cutting down the tree with his axe and the tree is scared and it's crying. You see the tears? Meanwhile, the first tree had arrived at the carpenter's shop. But how his dreams were shattered when the carpenter took up his tools. Instead of a treasure chest, he was made into a feed box or manger for animals. He was then placed in a barn and filled with hay. This was not at all what the first tree had prayed for. So here you see the picture of the barn, and there is a cow and sheep and chicks, two small chicks, and this is the barn inside which the manger was made. This is the manger. So this is the barn and this is the manger. And inside hay was stacked for the animals to feed on it. Oh dear, I wish to be a treasure chest. Look at me now. I will feed animals for the rest of my life, thought the first tree sadly. He would be now but a mere manger. So this is the manger. This is the manger. Okay, now the second tree was meanwhile cut and made into a small fishing boat. His dreams of becoming a mighty ship and carrying kings and queens came to an end also. So this is the picture of the second tree after made into a small fishing boat. Okay. Now I will never be a mighty ship sailing on the vast seas, and I will never carry kings and queens, thought the second tree disheartened. But the fate of the third tree was very different from the other two. The third tree was sold to a carpenter who cut him into large pieces and then left him alone in a darkened room. I wonder what God has thought about my future. How will I lie in the dark? The third tree often thought. Many years went by and the trees forgot about their dreams. They had accepted their present lives. One day, a man and his wife came to the barn where the first tree lived as the manger. The wife gave birth to a bonny baby boy in the barn. They placed the baby on the hay in the manger that was made from the first tree. So this is the barn's picture. I wish I could get a crib for our son, said the man to his wife. But at least we have this manger to lay the child in. The first tree saw that the whole barn was full of divine light. He knew at once that he was holding the greatest treasure of all times. How utterly happy he was! So this is the cute baby boy. These are the sheep and the mother and the father, and everyone came to see the baby boy in the barn. See, the cow is also seeing the boy. And the boy, baby boy, is nicely sleeping. And the mother is taking care of the baby boy. Many years passed. One day, a group of men was sailing in the fishing boat that was made from the second tree. One of them was tired and had fallen asleep. Suddenly, a great storm arose, and the boat was not sure whether it was strong enough to keep the men safe. The men were frightened also. They woke up the sleeping man. "Wake up and say your prayers as we'll all die," cried the man. But instead of being scared, the man stood, raised his hand and said, "Peace." At once the storm stopped. The companions of the man were stunned. So this is the man saying peace, and this is the storm. Everyone is frightened. Only that man is standing up and saying peace. And the storm stopped after that. The boat knew that he was carrying the King of Kings within himself. His dream had been fulfilled. Years passed by and the third tree remained lying in the dark. Then one day he had a visitor. The man took him out and carried him through the streets. The people mocked at the man who was carrying it. "Where is he taking me?" thought the third tree, worried. At last, the man stopped at the top of a hill. There was a cross. There, a cross was made out of the third tree. The man who had stopped the storm in the sea was nailed on this cross to die. The tree realized that it was holding Jesus, who had been crucified on it. He was satisfied, for he had never been closer to God than during that time. So this is the picture of Jesus and other people who are just seeing and watching, and this is Jesus. So, though the trees had to wait for years, but each of them got what they had wanted, but not in the way they had imagined. They were happy. When things don't seem to go your way, always know that God has a special plan for you. So, all the trees had their wishes fulfilled. So, the moral of the story is that if you wish for something and initially it doesn't get fulfilled, you have to wait. You have to wait because God has a special plan for you. And your wishes will come true sooner or later, but it will come true and God will give it to you in a special way.
Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this video.